The smell of morning dew. The sizzle of bacon on the pan. That first cup of coffee. All ruined by the sound of these two. It's the Power Breakfast with Archie and Donny.
Kind of. Technically. After the show, this is Archie and Donny Extra.
I think that promo needs us laughing at the end of it, I think. That's my little tidbit of that. I love that.
Just insert a laugh at the end?
I love that intro, but it's like all ruined by the sound of these two, and then it goes, bang, it's like almost like we're playing the instruments.
Well, people don't know that we actually did do the riffs for this part of the song.
Yeah. From our band.
What would our band name be?
Donny's Archhole.
So perfect. And if we do any stories on the show involving music and bands, that is going to be the headliner. Yeah, welcome to Archie and Donny Extra. Chance for us to reflect on what's been... This is our, third week of the Archie and Donny Breakfast Show here on Power 100 in Townsville.
Yep. Does it feel like 3 weeks or does it feel like longer?
It feels a lot longer.
I can't quite figure out why.
I think it's because we do a lot in a week.
Yeah.
And you must feel that the amount of content that we plow through every single day.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting. And then
what a great observation.
No, it's hard to explain because obviously a lot of the people when they listen to the radio, they're not listening to for 3.5 hours. There's some people that do, and those people are insane. But
we love them. Diehard fans.
Absolutely. There is people that listen to the whole show. It's bonkers. But a lot of people don't, so they only hear some bits of content. So we obviously need to have content for every single time we talk.
Correct.
But a lot of people just wouldn't even hear a lot of it.
You know, a lot of people still don't know that about radio. Even just this week, I was at the dog park in Douglas, near where I live in Townsville, and there's a guy I've befriended called Pat who works in the army, and he's never met anyone who worked in radio before, and he just keeps... and I love it. I'm so happy to answer questions about if anyone's interested, it's fine. And he's so curious about... So... Do you just, how do you know what you're going to say when you turn on the mics? And it's just so funny because that's like the most basic part of our job. Yeah. And I guess, we don't know what we're going to necessarily say within the talk break, but we certainly know Archie's sex life. Yeah. That's what we're going to talk about. Yeah. What angle we're going to go with it, that's not scripted at all.
Yeah. I think it would actually surprise people how unscripted it is.
Yeah.
It is like a dot point, and then because we're just comic geniuses, we run with... No, because...
the most humble show in town.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, when you're the oldest show in town, you should be.
That's so true. By the way, I can't see the cameras, but are they both recording?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Just check it.
Yeah.
You've done this before?
Yes, I've done this before.
Well, let's rip in, man. Let's go back to our show on Monday, and it started off with what has become a great story arc already on our breakfast show.
Yep.
Getting around this local cricketer who plays for Suburban Parks Cricket Club that I thought would be funny to sponsor because he was terrible at the start of the season.
Yeah.
His name's Matt Vella. I don't even know how old he is. I think he's like early 20s.
I think it has to be early 20s.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pin him at 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
That could be spot on, I reckon.
Yeah.
So we had a bet with him running over from our Friday show that if he made 20 runs or more, you would have to buy him a zinger box.
Yeah.
You're like his dad.
Yeah.
Going to the cricket with him on the weekend going, son, if you get 20, don't tell mum, but we'll get a zinger box on the way home. Yeah. So the Monday show, the big bit of anticipation was a lot of listeners had hedged their bets on Friday. They'd been ringing in the show and putting down what they reckon he would make. Yeah. And then you had to pay up.
I did. I had to pay up more than once. Because we also had people hedging the bet, and
he made 50 not out.
He made 50 not out.
Yeah.
Graham in North Ward said that he wouldn't bat at all, which technically was true as well because Matty did it in B grade.
And he's a C grade cricketer, which got washed out.
So the C grade did get washed out. He get bumped up to B grade and scores 50. And I was saying, well, this promotion's based on skill and talent, and you were saying no. And yet, where are we this week? He's playing A grade this week. So,
yep.
Have you ever seen anyone rise from C to A so quickly in just a 1 week? I mean, if you go from C, score a 50 and B, it makes sense you're in A.
So, since I spoke to him first, he had made 2 ducks.
Yeah.
Then I spoke to him and brought him as a part of a character on the show, right?
Yeah.
Since that moment, he's never made another duck. He's had 1 game where he made 2.
Yeah.
But his career's been blossoming since then. I'm taking part responsibility for this as well.
No. I think it's the fire lit underneath him from me and the belief that I've bestowed upon him. It keeps him at the nets longer. Keeps the zinger boxes to after the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's funny how this was supposed to be a piss take about finding a guy who sucks at cricket.
Yeah.
But we just want to get around him because he's probably going to have a tough season. I feel like someone's pulled the wool over my eye. Because now all of a sudden this is his second 50 of the year.
Yeah.
He scored a 40, a 20. So you have to
But
give
there's
him
no consistency. Like
No,
that's-
there's not.
that's
But
like,
But that's amateur cricket, right? Well, that's cricket in general. Not everybody can be Steve Smith.
well, one day Matty might. But we got to deliver the zinger box out to his work over there at Green Tech. Those guys are such good guys for this. As someone that's been in a very very similar industry,
Yeah.
if one of the guys that I worked with was downing tools on a Monday to collect a zinger box from a radio show, I'd be like, what's going on here? We didn't check in at the office. We didn't go and, we just rock up. And imagine if you just kind of know Matt from work. Like, imagine if there's got to be people at his workplace that just kind of know him.
I don't know. It doesn't look like a lot of people work there.
But imagine if you're like, oh yeah, there's a guy from Matt called Matt at work, and then halfway through the Monday, you drag yourself in there, you're like, what's going on here? You're doing a radio show from 5 meters away from my bay. What's going on?
Well, we'll definitely get to Friday's show in a sec because that is genuinely what happened.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, but it's funny though because his boss Craig, who works out at Green
Great
Tech, who
guy.
is a friend of the show now because of this story that we've been running. I mean, he's been calling in to take bets on his colleague. So, we've been threatening Craig with if Matt keeps scoring runs, he's going to have to give him more days of annual leave. It's become so unbelievably local.
Yeah.
It is hilarious.
It's taken on a life of its. It's been a great introduction to Townsville for me.
Yeah. Especially when you put one of our listeners on a pedestal.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much fun you can have with that.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. But yeah, also the price of zinger boxes. What's going on there?
Yeah, that was a bit of an expensive trip out.
$53 for 3 large zinger boxes.
I hope you kept the receipt for that.
I have no idea where it's gone.
It's gone then.
It's fine. Can't expense that.
And just when you thought on Monday's show that would be the highlight that we did after the show, Monday was another example for me of how the difference that our show will have compared to some others is you have no problem putting your personal life on our radio show. Now, there was a little bit of debate about doing this topic.
Yeah.
There
absolutely.
was, and only because the girl involved seemed a bit up for it.
Yeah.
Is why we went this way. Now, you went on a date on the Friday after the show last week. You went on a date with one of our sales managers' sisters.
Yeah, I might as well have put it in the Women's Weekly. The amount of press this thing's got. This date has gone stratospheric.
But when you told me you were going to go on a date with her, I was like, oh, this is going to be great content.
Yeah.
But I did think, I've been in your position before, when you work in radio in Townsville's a big city, but the group that you're operating in is small.
Yeah.
If you start getting the impression on the show is every time you take a girl out, you're going to talk about it the next day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you're going to have a great excuse as to why you never pick up.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the reason why.
Yeah.
So luckily, when you're on the date, she said it was cool to talk about it. But then we thought, how do we take this content to another level on Monday?
And we brought in the brother.
We brought in the brother because that's why our Christmas party on Saturday was so important.
Yeah. The Christmas party devolved into a brokering deal that took 2 seconds. It was, hey, Mick, do you want to do this? Yes, absolutely, I want to do this. I already have the questions. And that was the whole negotiation.
So Michael from our sales team came on the show to quiz you about going on a date with his sister. Now, just pause for a moment and reflect on that. If you have ever dated a sibling before, right? Think about how awkward it is the next time you see that person because they're obviously going to ask questions.
Yeah.
But now imagine doing that live on radio.
Yeah.
Having to face the music. And you just handled it like a champ.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Thanks, superstar. Yeah, like a superstar. Yeah, so we had my ex-wife on. We had good friends of mine, my sisters, people that know my deepest, darkest secrets, and have no qualms expelling those to the people.
Yeah,
that was the first time in 3 weeks, other than at Aldi, I had a genuine pit in my stomach because I was just like, oh, this could actually go anywhere. And normally, I think what it was is that when my friends and my ex came on, I was 100% going to be the butt of the joke, no matter what.
Yeah.
And then it entered a territory where you have to be quite careful that you're not accidentally punching down on someone else that doesn't have a voice. So it was a really interesting bit of content.
Oh, that's true.
You know, so I was really nervous about not just, I don't want to look like too much of a goose. Don't want to upset the brother. Don't want to upset his sister. Don't want to upset potentially anyone listening that could feel offended. So it was like quite an interesting quagmire to do at 7:30 in the morning on a Monday. Yeah.
But you're a nice guy, so I was never worried about you talking about the girl in question in a negative, bad way.
No.
And Mooney's comments to you were very, they were lighthearted-ish.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then he came out with a killer line asking if you were going to be coming to Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's a completely different way to think about content because you had to. I didn't realize you had all that on your mind.
Oh, mate,
You
there's so
definitely
much
overthink
going on
things.
up here.
Yeah, I don't overthink stuff as much as that, but it's good to overthink that stuff so you don't offend anyone.
Yeah.
When it's not appropriate.
Yeah, because you just don't want to be the guy that's just like, well, not that I am that person, but you don't want to come across as that person either, you know?
absolutely
So
not.
it was interesting. I was like, I really... And then she wasn't listening anyway, so it didn't matter.
Well, you better believe that Magic Mike's taken that audio.
Yeah.
He's got it.
And then as he was walking out, did you hear what he said?
No.
My dad wants to go next.
We can't reveal on the podcast who his dad is, but if you are listening to this in Townsville, you know his dad.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Blockbuster.
Yeah. Mate, let's talk about the show on, I think this was Tuesday's show. We did one of these segments that you've kind of brought over from your podcasting world.
Yep.
Where the last man stands for Dog Axe.
Yep.
How do we get onto this again?
It was... How did we get onto this? I think... you returning a car empty.
Oh, yeah.
To a friend.
Yeah.
Woof, woof.
I got lent a car from a mate of mine. And, I gave it back to him with that. And I did forget. I just completely forgot. And I sent him a text as soon as I dropped it off because I had to... When I did this, I dropped the car off and I put the key in the post box. And it was only driving away that I thought, I have completely forgotten to fill this thing up.
And Townsville's such a big city. You would have been so far away by that time. You couldn't have gone back and filled it up.
But the key was in the closed, locked in post box.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it wasn't just one of those like pickup ones.
Right. Yeah, well, that's how we got onto it. I think it went well, the Dog Axe thing. I liked it.
So you put that up against what's worse. And the second thing you did was, so what was worse between not filling up a mate's car when you've borrowed it, up against on moving day, pulling out of helping your friend.
Yeah.
Which I immediately went to because it was actually my first ever job in radio.
Yeah.
I kind of alluded to this on the show, but I didn't expand on it. But my first ever job in radio, I had my last ever exam at radio school.
Yep.
That Saturday. And I had hired a van which closed the centre to pick it up at midday that day. And my friend of mine, my best mate, said, "Hey man, I'll go pick it up while you go do your final exam," which was a 1 hour live radio show. I get a text at 9 a.m. from my mate going, "Hey dude, I went out last night. I'm way too hungover. I can't help you move today." And it wasn't just like a move across the city. It was a 3-hour drive to the Hunter Valley in New South Wales. And he had to get the van. And I had to get all my furniture that day. So luckily, another mate of mine, who I'm frantically calling that morning, answered the phone, and he was my knight in shining armor. Dropped everything he was doing, drove not just to get the van, which was annoying for him because he had to get dropped off at the collection point.
Yeah, so he needs to then make a favour happen as well.
Yeah.
A favour for a favour.
Exactly. And then he moved me 3 hours out, stayed the night at my place in the Hunter Valley, and then drove back the next day in the van again. And to this day,
You paying for fuel or what?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely would have given him something. Jason, if you ever listen to this, please back that up. But so that when you said that, it was almost an eerie reminder of one of the most stressful days of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only brought that up because you have been helping me move and hadn't pulled out yet.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, you... Oh, actually, yeah. One fun thing on Tuesday's show was your impression of me walking upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about, ways that I won't pull? There's one.
It was just...
No, the snort is so far from okay and acceptable.
After the fourth heavy box of this couch that has 1,000 pieces, and you've gone through your shirt and all the sweat's coming through, not a good look.
It got mentioned by more than one person at the office. Do you change shirts?
Yeah.
That's it. Don't worry about that.
But that was a good segment, Last Man Stands. In fact, our content director here at the station loved it so much he wants us to do it regularly.
Yeah, it's just a fun one.
Yeah.
It's just relatable stuff. Hits of relatable stuff. I think we should do it. But then Wednesday, was that Family Guy Day?
No, Wednesday was the day where you've been teasing all week that you were going to reveal this big thing about Matt, and then you finally got to reveal what you've been working on.
The cricket cards. And I was saying this to Archie. So we've made cricket cards for this kid. He plays suburban B-grade cricket. And we've gone and developed cricket cards for him. And it wasn't until I did the unboxing video for it, and I was saying to Archie, I was watching back the unboxing video, and also the ad, and we're critically thinking about this ad, and it's just you can get lost in the weeds of a good joke, because I was just sitting there and I'm like, oh, is that funny? Is the inflection on my voice there right? Am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? And then I go, what are we doing actually? Like, the idea that we're making cricket cards to this guy is just so good. So good.
I think cricket's a funny sport. I actually think it's the perfect sport for this kind of story, right?
Right.
Because cricket is a huge commitment when you're an adult.
Right.
You know, like you spend 6 hours at the game. And in Townsville especially, it's 6 hours in the heat, right?
Yeah.
And there is a beautiful bonding thing that blokes do. And girls who play cricket too. But, you know, speaking from my personal experience, when you're there in the trenches you could be in the sun for 4 hours.
Mental.
And your mate's bowling pies and you're running and getting it every time they hit a six, right? But there is this, you're letting go of, your dreams are shattered. You're not going to be a professional cricketer, but every weekend you get an opportunity to feel like that, right? And you get in your head that you're better. So the way that we are immortalizing a local lad is, I think that's why it works really well. And that's why I think a lot of people are buying into this, about how silly this is, but also how unique it is as well.
Yeah, because you can see yourself. He's just a guy.
Yeah.
He's just a guy.
And he actually, so you announced on the show on Wednesday that you were going to make cricket cards for him. This guy turns up. I play indoor cricket every Wednesday night with a bunch of mates here in Townsville. He came to the game, 20-minute drive, which is a long way in Townsville, just to watch the cricket, and because he's thinking about playing as well. So the great end of this story is he might end up in my team.
Wow.
Getting a spot ahead of me.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So that was nice to see him there, and he got to tell me, like, in person, I can't believe you guys are going to make cricket cards for me.
Yeah, it was awesome because it reminded me, because I knew they were in the works already when we dropped off the Zinger box. And I was like, you got any idea? Because, like, to me, it's obvious, but we'd already come up with the idea. Yeah. He's like, I've got no idea. And it is such a rogue thing to, like, even in the world of cricket, so niche. Yeah. You know, like, even though they exist, they're so niche. So I'm stoked at how stoked he was when we dropped him off and when we told him. And people seem to, like, just love it. So
when we went to the XRX printing place here in Townsville to get the cards, Erin, the lady who's been helping us with this story, and like they printed them for us, which was awesome. She said that after they came out of the printer, a couple of the boys in the office saw it, and now they are potentially going to make them for their team.
Yeah.
Here in Townsville. I dare say that we might see a lot more of that. Yeah. I think that, and I don't want to get too big-headed about it because I don't really give a shit, but it's funny that might inspire other, you know, at the end of the season when you're doing your big piss up at the end. Are there going to be a lot of other teams making cricket cards to immortalise a season? Like they could get that nowadays, because of My Cricket or whatever it is that they keep all the stats on. All the stats are actually there. I mean, the funniest thing on Friday was a bloke ringing up to query the stats we'd put on the cards because they were wrong. Of course they were wrong. We just made them up. And he goes, he's hit a lot more than 42 fours. We're like, bro, we didn't take the time to make these accurate. In fact, they're out of date immediately.
Immediately out of date. Yeah. We've made them 4 games into the season or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got a life of its own. So you announced that on the show on Wednesday, and then the big payoff was obviously going to be on Friday. But before we get to there, we have to talk about easily, I would say probably show of the week.
Yeah, Thursday.
It was it's hard to say show of the week. I mean, it's exciting when you have to debate that. Sometimes some radio shows would only have one, but Thursday was another great personal story from you that just lit up our phones at Power 100.
Yeah.
And that was you sharing a tale about the most unusual thing that's ever happened to you during what we called the act.
Yeah, and that was very fun too, describing the act without describing the act, which was very fun. But basically what had happened, if you've missed the story, me and a lovely lady were enjoying each other's company.
It's a podcast, I think you can say.
Okay, we're having adult time, and
I think you can say sex.
We were having sex, me and this girl, and she had to stop the sex halfway through and say, "I'm so sorry, I need to put something on." And I normally, if you're a man and you hear that in the bedroom, you go, hold on. What's happening here? What's going on there? But she meant something on the TV, and she's gone up to the TV and said, I put this on every time. It relaxes me. And put on an episode of Family Guy. Family Guy.
I'm trying to see if I've got on the screen in front of me.
The idea that thought would come to you. That doesn't say much about me and my likeness to Peter Griffin, that it wasn't too far of a stretch during the act.
Can you do an impression of Peter Griffin?
No, I couldn't even.
Could you try? Do his laugh?
Is that it? Or that's more of a goat.
No, that's pretty good.
But yeah, it just blew my mind, and it's stuck with me since. And so we opened up the phones to say, what's the most unusual thing that's happened to you in the act? And we didn't even air all the calls.
No, we were smashed. And I think the nicest thing, I was trying to, just for the punchiness of this story, yes, I do have it here. So, just picture yourself again. You're in the middle of the act, and then the person you're with whacks on the telly, and then... Oh, sorry, that's the short version. I'll have to expand this out.
Yeah,
we used the riff for this, Pick the Riff this week too, but you're in the act, and then...
It seems today that all you see
So
is violence
we
and
potentially
movies
ruined
and sex on TV.
this show for everyone. I think the best moment was arguably the first call we got was from this woman called Linda in Mount Louisa, who just felt the need and compelled to ring the station to say, guys, that is one of the funniest things I've heard in a long time. She said, when you said Family Guy, she said she almost choked.
I did too in the moment. It was craziness.
Yeah.
Where you got a dog and a baby talking during, it's just, what's going on?
About the stories we got about other people sharing what unusual thing happened during the act. We had a bloke ring up who had his beanbag swiped by a cat.
That
who saw
is
something
crazy.
bouncing around and went for it.
I've had two family members, immediate family members in a family of 5, get sent to hospital due to run-ins with cats.
Oh, jeez. I was like, how open is your family? What story are we about to hear?
It was the same cat too. One of them took a swipe at my sister's eye, missed her pupil by millimeters.
Yeah.
The other one took a swipe at my dad's arm. He was in hospital for a week because of the bacteria that lives in cats' claws. So the fact that you're already rolling the dice when you're having intercourse with a stranger, and then you throw in a cat swipe on the ball bag.
Yeah.
Who knows where those lumps come from is what I'm saying.
Believe that, would you? We also had a woman ring up who shared a story about getting a knock on her bedroom door as they were into it, with her housemate going, hey, the cops are at the door. So she had to stop, and then she complained that it was, what did she say, the last rubber helmet?
Yeah, the last rubber helmet, which is great from her to read the room.
Yeah, everybody seemed to be dodging around the topics for this thing. I mean, the guy who rang up about the beanbag said, we were doing let's just say, in the animal kingdom, dogs might. We were like, yeah, we get it. So then Tammy says, they used their last rubber helmet, so they were interrupted. They had to stop. She's answered the door. Then they were out of rubber helmets. And then I asked her, so what happened next? Did you risk it or what? She goes, conversations about a crunchy wrapper were had. I'm sorry, but a crunchy wrapper. What on earth is happening there?
Too specific to be not true.
Yes.
No one, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you get a caller and you go, all right, we've embellished this a little bit. That story is too specific to not be true.
I agree.
Crunchy wrapper.
Yeah.
Crunchy wrapper.
But what was great about that show on Thursday, right, about unusual things getting in the act, you and I came out of that buzzing after that show. I think that if you were in the car, turning on your radio, there's no way you can't be laughing about that. So relatable. So many people, would have experienced something weird.
Yeah.
Maybe you're in the car going, oh, what unusual thing happened to me? But there is this in radio, when you pick a topic, it's our job every day to try and come up with a topic that we think people are going to give us some great yarns about.
Yeah.
And when you get something that just hits, and you get all those calls, it was probably we've had a few great days like that, but you must have been pretty chuffed with the response we got from that.
Yeah, and it was immediate too. It was like, because I've said this a few times, like when you're saying a topic and as you're talking, the phone starts to ring, you go, this is crazy. Because that immediately before that happened too, when we were talking about the car park sensors.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a topic that we opened the phones for.
No, you had a rant.
Yeah. And then so the phones were already ringing. So we'd already had the high of like, all right, people have engaged with that. And then we springboarded off that into that story. It was incredible. Like the phones just got jammed that day.
Always amazing to hear a listener say that was one of the funniest things we've ever heard.
Yeah,
that is
so
a
nice.
huge compliment. You might be surprised if you're listening to this how much that means to us because when you do this every day, all you want is to just put on a great show. We're always doing our best. The most important thing we're trying to do is entertain and inform.
Yeah.
If, either one of those pieces of content, not always at the same time. So for somebody to just have a nice, enjoying time, maybe they're on the way to work or whatever it is, that's a goal.
Yeah, so absolutely. And the fact that you just know that's the lady that rang.
Yeah.
Right? She's not alone.
We hope not.
You hope not. So you just go, that's so fun that we were having so much fun in the studio, and you'd have to assume at the same time there's people having fun on their way to work as well.
Hopefully, yeah.
It's so sick.
Yeah. And mate, let's just finish off by talking about our show that we just had a couple of hours ago. The big crescendo that we've been building up to all week was we got the cards. You went out to actually hand deliver the cricket cards, and for the third time in 3 weeks, you have now got out of the studio. You were out of the studio for about an hour today. You're taking the mic with you, connecting back live to the desk. I'm talking to you. You're out on the streets, and you went out to give Matt his cards, and we've got 5 packs to give out as well.
Yeah, yeah. It was so fun, and like because I've done it 3 times, that's what I just think happens. I don't think that it's weird at all. I'm looking forward to where I have to go next Friday.
We could have something.
You know what I mean? Like, I reckon that's such a cool part of the show.
Yeah, do you like doing, we've always done it here since I've got here. I love the fact that we can do this these days without having to lug a massive computer around with you.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a phone, it's got an app, believe it or not, that connects to a portable mic.
Yeah.
You can broadcast from wherever you are.
Yeah.
And it allows you to be on the ground live.
And it's good, high quality audio.
Yeah.
It's not a phone. It sounds great.
Yeah.
So it's so much fun. It is so much fun. The fact that I'm down the road handing off cricket cards while you're in the studio, still pressing all the buttons and everything. It's awesome. It's so much fun. I like hitting the road.
How did you find it after? So you dropped off the cards to Matt, this local cricketer who works at this solar company here in Townsville. Then you legged it over to another business who had paid to have us there that day for a big giveaway at a tradie shop, totally workwear, boots, shirts, and all that stuff. So you were there with our street team guy called Kurt, aka the Big Rig. How did you find? Like, you were telling me a little bit off air about. You never know. Does anyone give a shit about these cards? Are there people do people actually want these cricket cards that is just like this tiny little bit of it becomes a piece of merchandise from the show.
Yeah.
And it's actually really exciting because it's the first one for Archie and Donny as a new brand forms.
Yeah.
The Matt Vella cricket cards have now become a bit of our show's identity.
Yeah.
So how did you feel when we were saying to people on the radio, get down now to Totally Workwear. We're going to give you a code. The first person to give me out this code, which was the amount of 4s he's hit, gets the first pack. There's only 5 of these packs.
Yeah.
And how did you feel seeing cars and cars and cars of people turn up?
Is insanity because it's the first test, right? It was the first time an idea that me and you have had got tested pretty hardcore. Does anyone care? Because I say this all the time. We get people that call in and it's awesome and it's amazing. So there is that engagement throughout the day. But for the most part, when people say to me, are you nervous about talking on the radio in front of all those people? I'm not in front of anyone. I'm just in front of Arch. I'm just having a conversation with Archie that we think is funny and we can hear ourselves talk back to it through headphones.
Yeah.
And we have to get out and obviously it is a radio show, but for the most part, we're just having a yarn. That is what we do. We get up and we have a yarn. So the idea that there's people not just listening, but when I say at 8 o'clock, in 10 minutes, I'm going to be at Totally Workwear, and at 10 past 8, there's people there waiting. It's insanity. It is legitimately insane.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I could not wrap my head around it because I was driving out there from Matty Vella's workplace, Arch goes to me, just make sure we get this code word right and everything. I'm like, man, we're not going to need a code word. We've made cricket cards for a C-grade cricketer. Like, it's funny. I'll probably have to slip him into a bag of chips or something with Kurt. And then I got there. Before I even got back on air, someone's already rocked up. As I'm interviewing him about giving him the first card, another guy rocks up, upset he doesn't have the cards. As I'm talking to him, Big Rig's got 5 people standing in front of him asking him where the cards are. Someone made up a code word because they forgot it, thinking that they could get the cards.
What was that? What was the made up one?
What did he say? Power Vela.
Yeah.
I honestly, I did, like, genuinely, like, hand on heart, had a moment where I'd finished the cross with you and I was looking back over at the van and I was, like, overwhelmed. I was like, this is so cool. This is so cool that, like, people have bought into this joke.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, it's not like there's a crowd of 10,000 people there, but there's dedicated people that care about the content enough. Obviously, they're getting there's a chance to get something, but there's not a chance to win $1,000.
No.
There's not a chance to win anything.
Yeah.
The cards, although I say have any level of value that you want to put on it, they could be worth $1 million, but they're inherently not really worth anything unless you know who we are, unless you know who Matt Vella is through the show. So the fact that, like, that's the other thing. When you're just driving around, but I'll pull in.
Mm.
It's so cool. It was the coolest thing ever. And meeting a bunch of listeners, saying good day. And even like the other day when we were at XRX and the guy walked in, he had to get something photocopied.
Like another customer.
Another customer. And he goes, oh, is that the cards for Matty Vella? That's awesome. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
It's funny hearing you talk about this because, I mean, I've just been doing this for a lot longer than you.
Yeah.
And I still love it.
Yeah.
Like, this stuff gets me going when people buy into, like, I find this so much more engaging than those who do radio shows who sit in a studio every day and it's talking about news.com.au articles, having a laugh about, oh, what do you eat for breakfast? Oh, whatever. When you take that content to another level and really invest in it, and the main important thing is, right, and I don't want to get too philosophical, but, like, people's lives can be tough sometimes, right? Mm. And we have this unique opportunity where we can make someone's day, make someone laugh. It's our job to entertain people, or try to. So to have some fun, and then to see people engage in that fun too, it honestly, the feeling of doing that has never got old with me.
Yeah. It was the first time I really got to sense it today.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
it was
cool.
so awesome. And Curdy did a great job at letting people down slowly that there's no more cards.
Yeah.
But
which is a tough gig. Like, there's only going to be 4 more of these things handed out.
Yeah.
So there's going to be that disappointment. But it's so funny when you step back and you go, gee, someone's going to rock up and be disappointed they didn't get a C grade as cricket set.
Yeah.
You know, but they have gone out of their way to get there. So I understand this. At least we give them a pack of chips and some soft drinks or whatever.
Yeah. It was awesome. It was a great day. It was good to see the pig in action too. Yeah. And it was a part.
Had you not seen that yet?
No, I hadn't seen it.
Oh, right.
And so it was a really good vibe too because we were giving away a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
So people still walked away.
We had eskies.
Yeah. So people still walked away happy.
Yeah.
And it was just fun. It was fun meeting listeners. It was fun watching them be happy with a bag of chips and a soft drink and having a yarn about, this is crazy that you do this for this kid and all that. So it was awesome. I had a great day. You would have seen me. I walked back into the studio. I was just buzzing.
You were.
I was like, this is sick.
That's great because the more stuff we do like that, the more you're going to love it. And people will find it pretty unique. I hope that there are lots of other breakfast radio shows, right? But it's very rare that you have a brekkie team who wants to be the man on the ground, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we could have easily just given the pack to Kurt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the fact that you've owned this content, you've gone and helped design these cards, get them printed, taking it full circle, and the fact that you physically gave the first ever pack to someone in person, live on air, it's awesome.
So much fun.
And you did a very good job of handling, you don't know this, but while we're live on the radio, when we go to a song, I'm talking into Donny's ears to let him know, okay, mate, there's 2 minutes left of this song. I'm going to bring you in after this. There's a lot of kind of directions that are given out to make sure that it sounds seamless. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes we'll have dropouts. Sometimes you'll mishear something. You're going to be down there. There's 30 people standing around you.
Yeah.
You're going to get distracted or mishear me.
Yeah.
That happens. But, mate, for someone in their third week, I've thrown a lot of shit at you, and you've just you smashed it out of the park. I just can't wait for it to all fall to pieces.
Yeah, something's got to happen soon.
Yeah.
I think probably the next time I talk about a date and go too far. That'll probably be my downfall.
Yeah, well, mate, we both deserve a big rest. I can definitely put my hand on heart and say I'm knackered from this week.
Yeah, it's been a big one.
So you and I are going to a local wrestling show tomorrow night.
Yes.
The QWA, it's their Christmas party, the Queensland Wrestling Alliance, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a nap,
Yeah, me too.
a sleep in,
Can't wait.
then a few beers tomorrow.
Yeah,
will be good.
make sure you wear a dark black shirt tonight. Or tomorrow night, yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, it's because it's nice and cool here. And
Oh,
the black,
yeah.
The black keeps you cool.
Yeah, the black will keep me cool. Yeah, I'll wear my black jeans too. I love that.
Bye.
Bye-bye.